Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm participating in the Chic for Cheap challenge that is put on by Christi Creates every first Monday of the month. This month, her co-host is Sammy from Unicorn Dust Designs, and I'll be sure to link both of their channels in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I've been wanting to add a lot of greenery and plants around my home, but those things can get pretty pricey, so I decided to take a look at Pinterest and Kirkland's and some other places to get some inspiration, and that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. So let's head into it. For this first project, I'm taking two frames that I got from Habitat for Humanity for $5, and I'm just going to remove the canvas part. These are really large frames. They're about 17 by 14 inches, and I'm going to turn them into like a frame with a shelf. As I was taking off the canvas, I realized how glued on those edges were. They were seriously on there and not going anywhere. I tried sanding them off. I tried using Goo Gone. I tried everything to get them off, but they weren't budging. So in the end, I just painted over them, and you can't really tell. So next I just took some spackling and filled in the staple holes and the corners, and I paint the frame black. Next I'm taking some scrap wood from my garage, and I cut this down to fit perfectly inside of the frame, so it's about a little less than 14 inches maybe, and I just stain it with my antique Waverly wax. This was the easiest project. It seriously took me like maybe less than an hour with dry time and everything. It was so quick. So then I just took some wood glue, put it on the edge of the board where it's going to meet the frame, and took the brad nailer and added 2 nails to hold it in place while everything dries. This is the only project in this video that's not technically a plant vessel, but you could definitely use the shelf to put a plant on. I still wanted to include it since it is a look for less. And that's it. Don't you just love when something comes out level on the first try? So here's the inspiration piece. It was from Etsy for $130, and mine cost $5 for the frames. I made this and decorated it well before Christmas. So it was decorated for the holidays at this time, but you could certainly use this for any season and keep it up all year long. For this next project, I'm taking this gallon jug that I got from the Goodwill for $2.99, and the first thing I'm going to do is clean it up really good with some crud cutter. And this project is a little difficult to explain, but I definitely show you in detail what I'm doing. Now that it's clean, I'm taking some black craft wire that I got from Hobby Lobby for $3.99. And I used a coupon, so I only paid maybe around $2, a little more than $2 for it. So I'm gonna cut a small strip to go around the neck of the bottle, and you can see I just twisted it on around there to stay. And then I cut 6 more strips of the wire that are about, I'd say maybe 2.5 feet long. They're not quite 3 feet, but they're definitely longer than 2. And I'm gonna loop each one around that top piece that I put around the neck. So what I'm gonna create is like a chicken wire type look all the way around this jug. The first thing I'm going to do now is take 2 separate wires. So I'm going to take the left side and the right side of 2 wires, and I'm going to form like a little triangle at the top of the bottle. And then I'm going to twist those wires around 3 times. At first I only do 2 and then realized it needed to have 3 twists to stay nice and tight there. So then I'm going to move on. I'm going to take the second half of that first wire that I used and then a second wire next to it, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to form that little triangle at the top so you can see how those 2 are connected, but it's just the second half of that looped on wire. And I wanted to make sure everything was the same length as I was going around, so I wasn't pulling one side to be shorter than another, because I didn't want to run out of the wire too soon at the bottom. I do wish I had cut this a little bit longer because it doesn't completely go to the bottom of the bottle, but that's okay. I think it still looks great. It was a little tricky going around that handle part. So here's how it looks with all the little triangles around the top. And now we're going to move down to the next section. So I'm going to take one of these wires that's twisted over toward the left and one that's twisted over toward the right, or I guess I said that backwards, but you know what I mean. And I'm going to twist those two together, and we're now going to form like a teardrop shape. And I'm going to do that same thing again all the way around the bottle. So that second half that's coming over toward the left and the other one that's coming toward the right, and twist that around. As I go down the bottle, the little openings get a little bit larger. So now we're going to move down to the next section. It's going to kind of form like a diamond or almost like hexagon-ish looking shape. And you can always mold them a little bit to be how you want it, like I'm doing here, since it's pretty flexible wire. So now I'm going to do that same thing, and I'm going to do this, repeat that same process all the way down the jar. Don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying my videos so that you don't miss whenever I post anything new. I post every Monday right now, and when there's collaborations that I would like to participate in, I'm going to try and post more than one a week if it's not on a Monday. Like this one happens to be on a Monday, so it was perfect timing. But definitely make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell so you know anytime I upload. So at the bottom, I added another little piece like I did at the top, just around the jug. And then I'm gonna take those leftover wire parts at the bottom and just twist those around so it looks a little more finished. The next thing I'm gonna do is take some more wire, and I wanna create like a little corkscrew looking guy. So I'm gonna twist it around this screwdriver a few times. I think I twisted it maybe like 6 times around. You can kind of see how it has that little like corkscrew effect. And I'm just gonna snip it off right at the base of the circle. And then at the beginning, I left a little piece off. So you can see how there's that little straight piece, and I'm gonna use that to attach it to the wire already on the jar. So right where those 2 wires intersected and twisted together, that's where I'm gonna place this. And I just twist it right on there. It stays nice and secure. You don't need to use glue or anything. And I do this all the way around every section of the bottom, and then I skip about 2 rows and do the same thing. I do it on every intersection 2 rows up. I didn't want them to be right over top of each other. And then I go all the way up to the top of the jar, and I do every other section. And this is a little different from the inspiration. The inspiration had a lot more and looked a little bit different, but you'll see that here in a second. That's it. This one was from Kirkland's, and it was $59.99, and mine cost $4.50. So just add a plant to it and you're all set. This next project, I am taking some leather scraps that I have. I got a remnant pack from Hobby Lobby for about $5, and I'm gonna cut it down into strips. You could definitely find leather ribbon or something at a craft store, but since I already had this on hand, I just wanted to use what I had and cut it down to the sizes I need. I just used my square and my cutting mat, just lined all the pieces up, made sure they were as symmetrical as I could get them, and then just cut them all down. Now that I have all of my strips, I'm gonna take them around this Dollar Tree vase and glue them on with my E6000, since hot glue is not going to stick to glass. So I start a little bit down from the top, right around like where the neck is, and it starts to bevel back out. And I'm gonna glue these all around at an egg or at a diagonal. You have a little bit of working time with E6000, so it will start to get tacky, but it will slide around there for the first couple of seconds. So I just kept pushing it down and moving it in place where I wanted it, and it was fine. I didn't have any issues. It is also really easy to clean E6000 up off of the glass, so even though it might be seeping out a little bit, you can just take a damp cloth and wipe it right off. Even if you don't get to it until after it dries, it's really easy to wipe right off. So once I did this whole first layer and let that dry overnight, then I'm gonna go in with the second layer and we're gonna go in the opposite direction. And this is gonna form like a diamond pattern all the way around the vessel. And here's what it's looking like with both layers on and dry. I didn't worry about those bottom parts until after everything was dry, and then just snipped them right off. So next I'm gonna take some more strips of the leather and I'm gonna flip them around so the suede part is facing out. And I cut these ones slightly thinner than the ones we used around for the diamond pattern. And I'm just gonna glue these all the way around, 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom to cover up those raw edges. And the last thing I'm gonna do is paint the inside of it white. The inspiration was white, and at first I wasn't gonna do this, but I do think it brings out the detail of the leather a little bit better. And I didn't go all the way to the top. I only went up to where the leather ended. So here's the inspiration from Anthropologie, which was $28, and mine was only $2. Here it is staged on my frame, so you can see how it would look on there as well. I love the way this turned out. I think it looks very modern or Scandinavian, boho. It could fit in with many different home decor styles. For this next project, I am taking 2 more scrap pieces of wood from my garage and some more of this leather remnant from Hobby Lobby, and then 2 glass vases that were from my wedding, and I'm honestly not even sure where they were from. I don't remember. But I'm gonna first mark the center of my board so I know where I want to glue the vases down to. And then I'm gonna take the leather strip, cut it down to fit across the vase and the wood, and then I'm just going to mark off where I want the glue to attach the leather to the vase. I don't want to glue it all the way around here because we are going to glue it down onto the board as well. And in the inspiration picture, they used just a mason jar and a smaller piece of wood, so this one strip would have looked great if I had a smaller piece, but since I made mine a little bit larger, I ended up adding in 2 more strips of leather in gray just to make it look a little more substantial. So I want to glue that piece on, and I'm not going to make it go all the way around because like I said, we want to attach it to that board. And now I cut down some gray strips that also came in that remnant pack from Hobby Lobby. And I cut one a little thicker, and I'm going to place this at the top of the brown leather strap. And this one is going to wrap all the way around. Then I take one that's a little bit thinner, and this one is going to butt right up against that brown leather, and again it's going to wrap all the way around. Now I want to attach the leather to my board, so I'm just going to take my T-square and mark where the bottom of the leather needs to be because I want to make sure that it's nice and straight. I just draw my line, and then I'm going to add on my E6000 again and glue it down. I'm gonna also take 2 full paint bottles that you can see on the right side so that this stays nice and straight and doesn't get tilted while it's drying. So I'm gonna measure one more time just to make sure everything's nice and straight. Once everything's dry, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and cut off the excess leather strap here, just right against that board. Then I'm going to take some upholstery nails that I had. I had these left over from when I reupholstered my headboard, and I added the nail head trim around. These were perfect for this project because the galvanized look of them I thought just fit in perfectly. So I'm going to take 4 of them and add 2 on each side. The last thing I'm going to do is take another strip of this leather, cut it down to the width of the board, and I'm going to glue that on and add 1 more nail to each side. And that's it. You can hang these up on the wall as sconces. This was my inspiration from Etsy for $20, and mine was free since I had all of these materials already on hand. I think these would fit into many different home decor styles. Again, they could be industrial, they could be modern, they could be Scandinavian, boho. Really, they would fit in with any decor. Just add in your favorite stem. Alright, for this last project, I am taking these 6-inch dowels from the Dollar Tree, so they're the smaller size ones, and I'm going to again use my T-square, and we are going to make a square. So I want to make sure that everything is all nice and straight and my angles are perfectly 90 degrees. And I didn't think about it at first, but I should have made 2 squares and then glued in the side pieces because we're going to be making a box or a cube, whatever you want to call it. But that was an afterthought and I didn't think about it at first. I wasn't planning on making it an actual box. I just wanted the side pieces for structure, but I ended up needing the top as well. Now I'm just going to add in all of the side pieces. Again, using my square just to make sure everything is nice and straight. And here's what the piece should look like when it's all complete. So you can see how those two I have, they're kind of sticking up rather than being flush. And that's why I should have created 2 squares and then added those center posts. So next I'm going to take some burlap fabric that I got from a girl who after her wedding, she just didn't want these anymore. She had 20 table runners and I got them all from her. So I'm going to have plenty of this to work with for a long time. But I'm just going to glue it right up against this edge. This is where I cut it. So I cut them maybe like 1/3 of the table runner. I want it to wrap around this square 2 times. So then I'm just going to cut that raw edge off so that it's nice and flush against the dowel. And I make sure that the seam, the finished seam along the bottom is right up against that bottom dowel, but covering it. And on this first layer of burlap, I want to make it pretty tight. So I want to make sure it's pretty secure around there. After I have that first layer down, the next one I'm just going to glue down the bottom of it because I want it to have that slouchy look. Definitely make sure to use something other than your fingers to push it down because that hot glue seeps right through the burlap. And then when you get to the end, I made sure that that finished seam was on the outside and I just pushed it right up against that corner. Next, I'm taking the part that was hanging over above the cube and I'm going to fold it down 2 times, making sure that those corners do come over top of the dowel. So you can see I'm going to pull it down here just to make sure that it's all nice and snug, but just don't push too hard because you definitely don't want to break this box. It's only held on with that hot glue. And the last thing I'm going to do is just take some yarn that I had from the Dollar Tree. You could use any color you want. You could do this in any design or any pattern that you want, but I just added in some horizontal rows or lines and I just added them wherever I thought it looked nice. I did this all the way around all 4 sides and then all the way up until you got to that folded over edge. So I just didn't do anything on the fold. And I love the way this turned out. Again, this is something that could fit into several different home decor styles. I'm not really into farmhouse, but it would definitely fit that theme or that decor style as well. This was super simple and super quick and easy to do. Like I said, you could do any design or pattern you wanted to here. So here's the inspiration. It was from a company called River City for $25 and mine cost $5 to make. I just love the way this turned out. But that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comments which one of these was your favorite and if you would try to recreate any of them, I'd love to know. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know next time I upload a new video, and I'll see you in the next one.